guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go on an email sent from a subscriber. This is my guy, he's 49 years old, almost 50, a Marine or a retired Marine, and he shares his story about how absolutely, based on his childhood and his adult years, why paternity tests should be absolutely standard for men. We all know this and agree there, but this really makes the point that his mother was not exactly the best mother on multiple fronts. In fact, was absolutely awful, and backs it up. And how this guy was just fed lies after lies after lies his whole life, not to mention all sorts of problems growing up, and how the guy that he thought was his father, well, you're going to see how that turns out. And fortunately, this absolute harpy who gave birth to him, she's no longer in his life, and rightfully so. And I thought I'd want to go over here, guys, just to show you that if you have experienced something like this, you got every right to cut off people in your life, even your mother. And if there's one individual in this world, along with your father, that should treat you and give you the love you need and all that, it's your mom. And when they don't, it's unreal. And while yes, a good mom will be probably by your side forever, even there are situations, they're awful ones, they have no business having kids. But anyhow, back to the paternity thing, you'll see at the end of the story why absolutely it should be standard. But of course, that would happen if all of a sudden paternity tests were standard with every child born. I think the whole civilization would collapse with the craziness that would go on there. I mean, holy crap. But anyhow, you're going to see in this story here, which is an interesting one, making my point. It says, "Hi SSM. My name is Bill, and I want to share a story from my life that I think will hit home with your audience. It's about paternity fraud, but from the perspective of a child who lived inside the lie for nearly 5 decades. I was born in May 1976 at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, to a decorated Army veteran. He was a retired Green Beret of the 101st Airborne, one of the most decorated soldiers in my state at one time. He was the man on my birth certificate, and for my entire childhood, I was told he was my father. He died in 1995 when I was still a junior in high school. The tragedy is that I only got 1 full year of my childhood with him. My mother and he split when I was around 2 years old, and from that moment on, she filled my head with constant negativity about him. Every birthday, every holiday, he was never there, and the only version of him I knew about was the twisted one that she fed me." Right there. How many times have you guys heard pretty much this same type of story? Right? Don't get me wrong, there are some scumbag fathers out there, and it's good they left. But how many times are actually good men and mom's a psycho? And this poor kid being deprived and filled with his head with all this BS. But even as a kid, I noticed things that did not add up. During the brief time I lived with him, he'd sometimes say things like the following: "You're the only son I've ever known." It stuck with me. I was young, so I did not understand what he meant, and he passed before he ever explained it. That's a shame. May he rest in peace. 30-some years ago. Well, growing up under my mother was literal hell. Single mother household, constant chaos, big surprise, emotional instability, and I was always the one who caught the brunt of her abuse. I spent many nights as a teenager either at a friend's place or slept out in the streets because simply it was better than going home. Man, that is terrible. You must have been a tough, stoic kid that you went that long without anybody really noticing it in school and stuff like that. You probably kept your mouth shut. This is terrible. And all the time you could have been with your dad. I was the middle child of what I thought were 4 kids. That number would later change. By the 5th grade, things had gotten so bad that the state stepped in. Well, it's about freaking time, but then again, single mom, so almost like a protected status. They'll buy anything she says. Well, one day I was pulled out of class and taken into the school's office. I was thinking, what the hell? I didn't do anything. A woman in a suit and a sheriff's deputy told me and my younger brother the following: "You guys are coming with us." We were being ripped out of their home and placed into foster home because our mother had a mental breakdown and was hospitalized. We were just kids and we had no real answers, just abandoned. It is such a shame, kids that go through that, really. I had a girlfriend for many years in late high school and college, and her mom did foster care to help those kids out. She was in foster care until she was adopted. The stories I've heard, let's just say, guys, there are a lot of scumbags out there. Oh my God. A year later, after we had settled in, the courts yanked us out again and threw us right back into the very same hellhole they took us from. Apparently she convinced the court system that she was better. She wasn't. Again, I've heard this same type of story before, because the state wants the kids to go back, thinking that these a-holes can be rehabilitated. No, you're not going to rehabilitate a scumbag, an a-hole, a bad seed, someone that should never have been born in the first place. But like I said, we were just kids and powerless. By my senior year of high school in 1996, I had one goal: escape. 2 weeks after graduation, I shipped off to Parris Island Marine Corps boot camp for 13 weeks of genuine hell, the middle of the summer in South Carolina. Damn, dude, I have great respect for you. My brother-in-law, he's a doctor, and he was on Parris Island for a while, and my sister said she used to feel so bad. Oh, God. With the new recruits in the summertime, in boot camp, holy crap. But you know what? That was probably paradise compared to what you grew up with. Fast forward to my mid-30s, I ran into a family friend and we discussed the past and my mother's mental issues from years back. Out of nowhere, she told me something that turned everything upside down. She said that I heard a rumor years ago that your dad couldn't have kids. He might have been sterile. What? Then how are you here? How are you walking around? I guess Mom was lying about who's on the birth certificate. Well, that rumor ignited everything. I started digging, and my mother did not like that one bit. The hell with her. And I don't know how you're in any communication with her at this point, given how she treated you, and your dad, I might add. I brought up the subject of my father one day, and she went nuclear, screaming, threatening to call the cops, calling me names you wouldn't believe, all for asking who my father is. Her words were, "It's none of your effing business." So you're in your 30s. You're a hardened Marine. You were hardened enough growing up in that hellhole. It's like prison. And then Marine Corps boot camp and a Marine. And she's going to scare you? Really? Then came the Thanksgiving bombshell. My uncle came to visit. It had been years since we had seen him, so he pulls out a photo of himself, his wife, and another woman I'd never seen. When I asked who she was, he said the following: "That's Lori, your other sister." What? I don't have a sister named Lori. What are you talking about? Yes, you do. That's your mom's oldest daughter. My mother was glaring. Man, your mom got around more than a neighborhood cat. My mom said I don't claim her. It was becoming clear she'd been hiding a lot more than just the truth about my father. Your mom had more skeletons and ghouls in your closet than the entire Michael Jackson Thriller video. They're all in the closet raising their hands, doing the fucking dance. Oh my God. So I took matters into my own hands. I ordered an Ancestry DNA kit. This should be interesting. When the results came in, my entire life collapsed into a single sentence. None of my siblings are full siblings. All of us have different fathers. I'm not laughing at you, or really laughing. I'm just laughing at, I'm not surprised here. Your mom, piece of garbage. My mother had falsified every single birth certificate, listing the same man, Harry, as the father of all of us because he was convenient. Otherwise, she would have to explain why there were 5 kids by 5 different fathers. And me, it turns out I'm half Puerto Rican. Wow. I still don't know who my biological father is to this day, and she isn't answering. So the guy you thought all those years was your dad was not your dad, but he was good to you when you saw him. And obviously that was the guy that she put in all the birth certificates. I mean, you know, it isn't just her who committed the fraud. It was also whoever was at the hospital and all that. So did the state go after him for child support payments for all those kids? What I did learn was the truth about the man I believe was my dad. I contacted his brother before he passed away. He told me, "He wasn't your father. He never could have kids, but he loved you like his own son." That poor guy, but a good man. He explained that my father, quote-unquote father, was sterile, possibly from Vietnam or from birth they did not know. And my mother was known to have a thing for servicemen. So on base, while he was passed out drunk in the bedroom, we assumed that's when she did whatever she did with the man that would become my father. This man, a hero who served in Korea and Vietnam, earned a Bronze Star with 2 oak leaf clusters, a Purple Heart, survived being injured in a door gunner, saved an officer's life, spent his years emotionally distant from me, or because she deliberately kept him out of our lives to protect her secret. I would say option B. I wish he had lived long enough for me to tell him I know the truth now. In my 40s, I'm still searching. You see, that's got to be the toughest thing, guys. Not knowing who you are, where you come from, who you come from, all that thing. I mean, putting a lot of things aside, even just from the medical perspective, what diseases you could be prone to and things like that. In my 40s, I recruited the DNA Angels on Facebook to help, and they tried for years to help identify my biological father, but my mother refuses to speak, refuses to help, refuses even to acknowledge what she caused. Again, why have you had anything to do with this harpy? And your mom is a fucking harpy. This was a secret that she intended to take to the grave. Well, this would be a darn good time to have something on her so you can get this information. And after a lifetime of lies, emotional abuse, abandonment, and manipulation, I accepted the following. I want nothing to do with her ever again. Well, good. I agree. And all the brothers here agree. But I think even a bigger thing is, why in God's green earth did you have anything to do with her the second you left and went to boot camp on Paris Island? But it's your life. It's your business. She wasn't the nurturing, loving mom that kids need growing up. She wasn't someone I could turn to for comfort, reassurance, or safety. I never had that growing up. She was simply the only adult present, but never a parent. Dude, you were probably more of an adult by the time you were 12 than she ever was. She was a reckless piece of garbage. I mean, there's so many things there I can throw at her in terms of just an awful human being. And the worst thing is, these awful human beings tend to breed a lot. But what this whole situation taught me as a man. Number one, blood doesn't always make your family. It only makes you related. I wholeheartedly agree with that, brother. Number two, some people don't deserve a seat at your table, even if you share DNA. Yep. In other words, people are a-holes and bring nothing to your life and cause misery. Kick them out of your life, even if they are blood related. 3, men deserve paternity testing as a standard, not a luxury. Hey, fucking men to that, brother. Everybody here agrees with that. 4, children pay the price for women's secrets. You're darn right. And 5, if someone doesn't bring peace into your life, you're allowed to walk away, even if that person is your mother. I have no problem with that. Or your father. There are some scumbag fathers out there. Your grandma, your grandpa, or anybody, or siblings, or whatever. Yes. The problem is, a lot of guys out there, they will have weaknesses for their mom. I mean, obviously on some level, you must have all these years something to have communication with her after all the shit that she pulled and did to you growing up and as an adult. You know, those moms can do these things to these guys. I was lied to, abused, and disrespected by the one person who was supposed to love and protect me the most. If my story helps even one man to avoid this kind of betrayal or gives someone the strength to set boundaries, then it's worth telling. Thanks for all that you do, SSM, and please keep fighting the good fight. Well, bro, I appreciate you writing in. That's a really tragic story on so many fronts against the guy who you thought was your father and you and all the poor kids that went through that. I mean, if there's any silver lining to the whole thing, it certainly made you tough. I mean, again, you were probably thrilled. Everybody else was shitting their pants at the first day of Paris Island. You were probably like, yes, this is paradise. The freaking drill sergeant or drill instructor, whatever they're called in the Marines, you were probably like, hey, this is better than my fucking mom. But anyhow, man, yeah, it's an absolute disgrace what they can get away with and all those things. But better late than never. You're nearly 50 years old. You got a birthday coming up in a few months. I'll be 50 in 2 years. I can't believe that. And this is a perfectly good time to cut her off completely at a time when she would actually need people. The hell with her. But don't fall for any of her waterworks or bullshit, stuff like that. She'll probably try to get you back by trying to rope you in by, I'll let you know about who your real father is. But the reality is, she probably has no clue. There are probably so many dudes she's gone through, like the neighborhood cat, that she has no idea. And frankly, if you're almost 50, I'm guessing she's got to be in her 70s. I mean, shit, if she had you at 18, 68 or something like that. But regardless, her mind could be going. But I would have put it past her to, on the one hand, she could know and just be like, ha, ha, ha. On the other hand, there could be so many guys She has no idea. It'd be like a freaking female porn star who has no idea because the numbers are so freaking high. But the point is, man, I don't know how the rest of your life is going. I don't know if you have a family and kids and all that, but just because she was a piece of garbage doesn't mean you got to be a piece of garbage. And I don't think you are. In fact, all the hardships you went through can help you probably become an amazing dad, or a mentor or an uncle or somebody like that, And those siblings that you thought were your full siblings or your half siblings, if they're good people, then hey, have them in your life, But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that everything should be tested. Can you begin to imagine, guys, if all of a sudden it was mandatory to test? Oh my God. Western all of civilization would collapse. We'd be right back into the freaking dark ages again. I kid you not. There'd be craziness in the streets. So anyhow, there you go. And I wish you the best. And yeah, thanks for sharing that. But yeah, paternity test. Everybody's got to have it. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, you got a good story you want to share, send it my way, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. This also goes for any questions you have or a good article or something like that. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.